In this video, we're going to look at another three-dimensional shape called a sphere. As in a basketball, a softball, anything like that. Okay, try to make it look 3D there. And we want to talk about the volume and the surface area. So if you have a sphere and you have a radius, the radius is from the center out, that's our R, then the volume of a sphere is given by this formula, 4/3 times pi times r cubed. And the surface area is given by this formula, 4 times pi times r squared. Okay? Now, usually we will justify to you where formulas come from for given shapes. For a sphere, we require higher math in order to sort of justify or show you where these formulas come from. So in this case, we're just going to use these formulas as given and work with them. So let's just take a basic example. Talking here about a softball, and which is obviously a sphere, and it has a diameter. So I'm just going to draw this. There's my sphere. The diameter going all the way across is 4, and so the radius would be 2. And I'm picking radius because in the formulas above I have r that I need to use. And I want to come up with the surface area and the volume of both of these to the nearest hundredth. Alright, so for the volume, I'm going to take my formula from above and just plug in for r equals 2. 4/3 pi times 2 cubed. And I'm just going to do a little bit of simplifying of this before I plug it in. That's 4/3 times pi. 8 cubed is 8. And that would be 32 pi over 3. And if I decimalize that, that would be approximately, on my graphing calculator, 32 times the pi button, which is there, divided by 3. Round it to 2 decimals, 33.51. And those are units, inches cubed. Alright, so almost 34 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch cubes to make up this sphere. In terms of surface area, again, just apply the formula. Surface area, using the formula above, 4 times pi times 2 squared. And so that's 16 pi, and I can type that into the calculator to get an estimation. 16 pi and 50.27, and the units inches squared. Okay, one more example. Look at a more complex situation. This time we have a sphere, but we know the volume, and we want to find out what the radius of the sphere is. So I'm given information about the volume, so I'm going to write the formula for volume out, 4/3 pi r cubed. And I'm going to substitute into my formula what I know. I know the volume is 300, so that's 300 equals 4/3 times pi times r cubed. And now I have to use my algebra skills to solve for r. And we know from previous grades that if we have an equation that has fractions in it, one thing we can do is take our equation, just copied what I have above, and I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. Because if I'm multiplying, that's going to cross that out. And so that's going to be 900 equals 4 times pi times r cubed. Now we know that 4 times pi is just a number multiplied by r cubed. So if I divide both sides by 4 pi, and I'm just going to leave it the way it is at the moment, 900 divided by 4 pi, you could reduce that to be 225 divided by pi. I'm just going to leave it like this for now. Alright, and I'm leaving it in terms of pi right now because I want to round off at the end, but if I leave it in terms of pi along the way, it will reduce the chance of me making a rounding off error at the end. Alright, now what I need to do is uncube r. And so we're going to cube root both sides, and I'll show you where that button is on the calculator if you've never used it before. We're saying what times what times what equals r cubed. Well, it's r there, and the calculator will tell me what number multiplied 3 times gives me 900 over 4 pi. So here we are over in the calculator. To get the cube root, I'm going to press this button here, Math, and number 4 is cube root. And then inside of that I want to type my 900 divided by, now I need to bracket the 4 pi because I want 4 pi all divided into 900. So bracket 4 pi, let's close that bracket, and let's move our cursor to jump out of the root sign, and we get rounded off 4.15 centimeters. So let's just plug this into the calculator. Here's my 4/3, so I got to go 4/3 in brackets times pi times the answer I calculated above. And so my answer button is on, down here on the negative sign. So if I go second function minus, it brings the answer that I have up here. And I'm going to cube it. Here's the power button. This little sign right here with the pi above it. Cubed. And that should come back to 300, which it does.